What's a man to do after a 4.5 hour chat with Paulo Costa and crew? Do another chat? Yeah, sure, why not? It was good to see everybody today. If you don't know Paulo Costa's channel, I can't imagine that you don't if you're subscribed here. Check him out. He did 2 live streams today. One kind of earlier in the day that I couldn't get on. I think he did that for about 3 hours. And then he did one much later in the day for another kind of 4.5 hours. Which was great. It was fantastic. I mean, there was some people there. I've never chatted live with Jared or, well, actually, no, just Jared. I've chatted with Tim and chatted with Gus and people in the past. Actually, never with Scott either. So it was the first time for those two. And it was great. It's good to see people, and it's good to kind of just sit and bullshit for a number of hours. So I wanted to just kind of do another live stream. The link is in the chat there if anybody's curious. If everybody's around and wants to jump on, please feel free. Just kind of talk briefly about a couple of things that I got recently. The cartoonist kayfabe guys just recently did an interview, a shoot interview with our Kiko Johnson, and I think this is the 15th anniversary of Night Fisher. I think this is his first graphic novel. Fantagraphics published, kind of smaller hardcover. So the comic shop that's around the corner from my house or sorry, not from my house, from my office, is a Comic Factory. And during the pandemic, he was just posting photos of stuff that he had for sale or stuff that was coming in. So then people could do their curbside pickups. He's kind of continued with that. And when he gets, when it's New Comic Day, because I know DC has New Comic Day on Tuesdays, Marvel and everything else still has Wednesdays. So he'll just post photos of some of the new stuff that he's got. And this was on the latest list. He only got 1 copy in. And because my mind had been primed by the kayfabe crew there, I figured I'd give it a shot. I haven't read it yet. I just picked it up yesterday. So I'm looking forward to it, though. The kind of sample pages that I saw online, pardon me, the sample pages that I saw online and kind of the backstory of it sound intriguing. So I figured I'd give that a shot. Picking up my very meager pull list today from Galaxy, Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, number 3. I haven't read any of these yet either. I just picked these up this afternoon. We've talked about it here on the channel and how much I love this book. And I think it seems to be from the small crew of people that I watch on YouTube. It seems to be a standard that everybody is really digging this book. And the thing that stands out for everybody is the art and the visual storytelling that's going on there. So I'm looking forward to that one. Issue number 5 of Porcelain. I'm digging it. I don't know where it's going. I don't know if I'm really caring where it's going. I don't know if I'm really incredibly focused on the story itself. Visually, it's pretty interesting. It's from Ablaze. Ablaze has some other European. They seem to be, I was mentioning to Paulo earlier in his stream that Ablaze seems to be the company where maybe it's worth kind of keeping an eye on them because they're publishing in English kind of European work. You know, the Sumerian is on Ablaze. I just ordered a couple of other things from Ablaze, one from Earl Grey's videos. He was talking about a series of books called The Geezers, I think. So I ordered volume 1 of that, as well as another one called The Skin of a Man, I think. So I grabbed that one as well too, just to give them a try. So maybe Ablaze is a company that I kind of keep an eye on going forward. My daughter has 1 comic on my pull list, and it's My Little Pony. Trust me, I'm not a brony, but she's really digging this stuff. And I mean, trying to keep her Not that she needs much encouragement to read. She's a pretty voracious reader so far, but I'm always willing to throw stuff like that on the pull list if it's going to keep encouraging her to read. And then not on my pull list, Catwoman Lonely City #2 from Black Label, right? Yeah, DC Black Label. So this kind of magazine format. I really enjoyed the first issue. Looking forward to seeing where this story goes. This is Cliff Chang, all the way through art, coloring, lettering, story, writing, production, printing, layouts, what have you. He's pretty much in total control of this. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. The first issue was pretty enjoyable. So yeah, I'm on board with that in kind of that oversized format, as we were saying already. I feel like, was there another comic that I picked up? I think that might have been it. There wasn't much this time. I did do some kind of retail therapy and ended up grabbing the Doctor Strange from the, what the hell is the series called? Not Mastermind, whatever the hell the series is called. So this is his kind of, his ethereal body kind of version. So I don't know, man. The guy knocked $10 off of this as well too. So yeah, what's the saying? I'm not a toy guy, but so I ended up grabbing that as well too because I'm a sucker. That was it for comics, I believe. So we'll talk about, I got a bit of just one movie and then some music and stuff to talk about too that I figured I'd chat about. One of the documentaries that I was looking forward to was this Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched, A History of Folk Horror by Kayla Janice. So Synapse Video and Kayla Janice. Kayla Janice used to live here in Winnipeg. She was a kind of programmer at the Alamo Draft House in Texas there. So shout out to Gore Vidal. She moved here, and I've talked about her before because she was the one that brought the Japanese movie Hausu to Winnipeg that before Criterion, or just as Criterion was going to do a release of it. So she was able to get a screening for us here in town. She's written a couple of books, and I think she's also directed another documentary. Don't quote me on that, but we had a documentary film festival here in town recently. Give Me Some Truth is what the festival is called, and it happens at a Cinematheque, so an art house kind of theater. And I think she zoomed in. They screened this one there, and she zoomed in to kind of do a Q&A and kind of give a bit of a backstory. So this one sounds really fascinating. It's 192 minutes, and it's been hailed as stunning and brilliant and mind-blowingly epic. A seductive mega text through the history of folk horror, featuring clips from over 200 films and interviews with more than 50 filmmakers, authors, and scholars that explore the rural roots, occult creeds, and cultural lore that continue to shape international cinema. So I'm very, very curious about this one. It's got a video introduction by Kayla Janice, animating folk horror, a conversation with Ashley Thorpe, outtakes, and folk poetry. So this South by Southwest Festival is where it's screened, Fantasia Film Fest, the Nashville Film Festival, etc. So really, really looking forward to seeing what this one is all about. Pretty stripped down, nothing inside, just kind of the disc itself, no kind of interior booklet or something. Like I said, this was on pre-order from Synapse, so it just showed up recently. So very excited about that. My son is pretty excited about that too. Hello, Damien. How are you? So there's a channel that I watch. Chicho is his name. And I think for some reason I blanked on. I thought maybe his channel name was something different, but I think it's just Chicho. I've been watching him for years off and on. He talks politics, talks all sorts of stuff, but he also talks comics, And once a year on his Twitch channel, he does or at least for the past 2 years anyway, he does kind of an auction where over the time of watching Twitch streams, you can gain kind of Twitch points that when you give them, you can kind of you can buy certain things with those Twitch points that I think then translate into money for the Twitch channel creator. So he has a little bit of an auction that goes on once a year. So for the last 2 years, he'll auction off things like some comics. He used to be he was a very small publisher, Mermaid Comics here in Canada. I may have put them away. And I picked up some things from him last year, or some stuff was gifted to me last year. I was around this year and had a bunch of Twitch points to contribute. I got some honey that he kind of jars himself, which is amazing. It's amazingly good honey. Kind of has like a real bite to it. I put it in my coffee now that I'm trying to stay off of sugar and things like that. I'm just putting some honey to sweeten my coffee and things. Or tea. I'm sort of steering away from coffee as well these days, to be honest. So one of the other things that he bought a couple of boxes of, so Eclipse Comics that you all know I'm a big collector of. You can see the boxes up there. All of those boxes up there are filled with Eclipse Comics. And then there's some on the shelf beside me here that you can't see. They also did trading cards. And one of those sets was the Drug Wars trading cards, the straight dope on America's dirtiest deals. They've done a couple of things. Let's see. I think there's an advertisement in here. The Iran-Contra scandal trading cards, rotten to the core, New York City political scandal, friendly dictators, Bush League trading cards, coup d'etat, brought to light El Salvador, real war stories as well. So they also advertise kind of the collections and things that they had. I also think they did one on, they might have had a card set on kind of serial killers and stuff. So they were kind of one of those companies that dabbled in a lot of things, especially near the end of their career there, Eclipse. And some of this stuff, I just figured I'd never get my hands on it. It's not readily available. It's pretty pricey when it does come up. But Chicho bought a bunch of the cards. He won a bunch of auctions so for some single packs, but then also like a box, a sealed box, I think, too. So he had a whole bunch of these cards on auction on his Twitch channel. So I was lucky enough to win a set for myself. A really nice addition to the Eclipse Comics collection. Again, that something I thought I would never get my hands on. Nothing that super appeals to me. It's the comic stuff that really appeals to me. I think they did some fantastic stuff with these. I do vaguely remember when these kind of cards were coming out. So you get some art on the front, and then each card is numbered, and you get a little bit of history of kind of the drug wars and how they started in the United States, and just kind of takes you through a bit of a timeline. Really, really interesting stuff. And again, some of this I remember reading because I was big into reading like High Times and all sorts of kind of alternative newspapers and alternative books, I guess. Shoot, what was that company called? AK Press. Me and friends of mine were big into ordering books from AK Press, etc. So this stuff was kind of on our radar already. So I do have a vague memory of all of these cards coming out. So it's cool to have a set. I'll keep them in the box. I don't know how, as much as I want to collect the Eclipse stuff, I don't know how hard I'm going to go into trying to find the other card sets that they did. I have seen them pop up very, very rarely, though, at comic shops and stuff, but they've usually been pretty pricey. So it was nice to contribute to a channel that I like. The Twitch points didn't cost me any real money anyway, so it was kind of nice. Really, really great guy. Chicho is a hell of a guy. He's got some interesting content on there. Lately, he's been doing a lot of politics stuff that I applaud him for. I don't. I I keep kind of my politics separate from my YouTube kind of life, even though I still watch a lot of political stuff and am very engaged in that sort of thing. I kind of like my social media and my comics to be its own thing. I don't generally dabble in the other stuff. I use YouTube to kind of relax, and doing these kind of things is to kind of take my mind off of uh, things that could be anywhere near what my real world is when it comes to work. So, but super cool, really nice guy. Check out his channel. Um, the other thing I grabbed, so I was trying to figure out. I've been selling some music, and I have been for quite a while on Discogs. And Discogs used to have a system with shipping that was really simple to deal with, to be honest. It's such a fucking pain in the ass now. I tackled it once again. I tried to tackle it, tried to wrap my head around it recently because I've been selling a couple of things on YouTube Marketplace from CDs and that sort of thing that I figured I'd give a shot onto Discogs. But they've really made that whole shipping system on Discogs really impenetrable to kind of the layman like myself. So I gave up on it. And I started digging just because I'm always kind of keeping my eye out for music. And there's some kind of indie and kind of experimental or strange labels that I'm always kind of on the lookout for. And one of those is a label called Dolor del Estómago, stomach ache, was the kind of label that this spawned from, and it's kind of in the realm of the brutal sound effects crew. So guys like Rubber Cement and these guys that are doing like Grux, who's kind of the head of that sort of. Not the head, I shouldn't say that. That sounds ridiculous. But he's kind of like one of the bigger names within that kind of experimental and noise scene. I was lucky enough to play a couple of shows with that kind of crew and contribute some video pieces. So Grux had a whole series of stuff from this del Estamago label that was just amazing. So stuff that was maybe hard to find, everything from kind of organ music to music concrete to very strange electronic music, early electronic music, to things even like this, where it's just the sound effects to a show. So I got three things from a Canadian seller. He did them rather. It was just a CDR version with some kind of hand done art wrapped in kind of paper. And you just basically get a CDR of some of these things. So the stuff that's really intriguing to me, he did for Monsters Inc. or him. I assume it's not just one person. It's probably a few of them. They did the sound effects from Monsters Inc. and Toy Story 1 and 2. Monsters Inc. I used to have, but I don't know what happened to it. But the Toy Story stuff I still have. And it's really an incredible listen because it's just the isolated sound effects. So this is kind of what he's attempted here with Herculoids. I sampled a couple of tracks today. There's some dialogue, there's some music and things too, but it's really just relegated to kind of the kind of odd kind of sounds that appear through some of these shows. And it really makes for a very cool listen, and especially in this world of kind of the brutal sound effects crew, like these noise guys who are kind of more into sound design and things. It really makes sense in their world. So this one has, I think, 34 separate tracks from the Herculoids. And the other two that I picked up, the other one is Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. I don't know if he did a for Evil Dead, the first one, but I assume this is, like I said, I haven't listened to this one yet, so I assume it's the same kind of thing, just the sound effects and all the kind of background stuff isolated from kind of the main movie itself. So I'm very, very curious. I've been putting them on the computer. I just put the Herculoids on the computer this afternoon. This one will be the next one that goes on the computer. Some of the other thing, I don't know if it's field recordings, but this is a marching band playing, like doing covers of songs. So I haven't listen to this, so it'll tell me a lot when I actually listen to it, if it's field recordings or if it's something that had some sort of official recording of the band. But I have a feeling this will be just field recordings of a marching band. So I'm very intrigued to hear what this sounds like. It looks like, from looking at the CD itself, it looks like it's a very short album, probably only a few tunes, but I'm very, very interested to see what the hell this one contains. So over the years, I've managed to collect a whole bunch of this stuff, and it made its way into this case here. And so I've kind of just kept the CD and then that sort of Obi strip with the art on the stuff there. So we get things like Organ Spectacular. And then he did some kind of experimental and noise artists as well too. So Critical Monkey has a release on here. I think Headboggle has a release on here. And a bunch of other kind of more modern noise artists and things. But then he also did things like the BBC Radiophonic Workshop had done some albums. This is More Death and Horror, which I think since this time I actually have the record itself too. So there was these sound effects records that some of these companies did. So like I said, it was pretty kind of pirated albums that maybe were out there, not as easy to, sorry about that, bumping the microphone there, not as easy to get your hands on, but he gave it a release. This was another one. So this one right here blew my mind at the time. This Organ Spectacular Margie Brandon was one that I got early on and absolutely loved. She does a bunch of cover songs on the organ, and it's just her singing, doing some organ covers of country music, pop music, that sort of thing. And it's really incredible, honestly. I assume at some point there was an album that came out from Margie Brandon, but nothing that I've come across. Soundtrack stuff. So Camille 3000 or 2000 rather. And then from Grux's own band, Carolina Rainbow, they had a multitude of albums out. Excuse me. So some of those got kind of released on this CDR format. So anyway, a whole bunch of really, there we go. There's the Toy Story 2 sound effects. So it's a barrage of bizarre rocket skulls. And honestly, it's such an amazing listen. This is one of those, probably out of all the stuff I have of this is the one that gets played the most. I truly, truly love that sound design, and just the idea of isolating that away from any sort of backing track. And then there's the Monsters Inc. as well too. Oh, look, we've got some extra viewers today. That's fantastic. I bet you those links are phenomenal. I mean, and this idea of kind of packaging stuff in just kind of photocopied paper and doing some art. He also did with a band that he was a part of, the Spider Compass Good Crime Band. Same kind of thing. Let's see if we can open this up. I just really like this idea of printing out some artwork that then becomes the CD case, I guess. And then inside you also get some art there as well too. So really, really great. And then just a basic CDR with some extra art on it. Yeah, I think that's probably about it. If I can close all this up again. Some more Spider Compass. There's some more Spider Compass there. Some more there. Some more there, and even some more there. And then for the Canadian connection with kind of this sort of style, all of this was sitting together in my CD cases. This is Brian Rurik, who is another guy that works in film and deals with kind of like a lot like Joan broken down guitar things, but he deals with a lot of kind of litter as well too, as a part of his packaging. So some of his albums come with it's a very cut up kind of style for the packaging itself, and then sometimes even with the releases when you get them from him, because you can order stuff directly from him, there's almost kind of these garbage items in with it as well too, and then a lot of like handwritten stuff on the packaging itself. So it's an interesting aesthetic for sure, this kind of collecting whatever's out there, and more importantly the idea of getting your sounds out there to people, as opposed to dealing with this kind of art and packaging and stuff. So that's it, everybody. One of the things I'm still kind of digging into is the Cull series. I think I'm 7 issues in now, yeah, and it's still just as good. I'm really kind of taken by this series, to be honest. I've talked about it in a number of videos back to back, but the more I kind of dig into it, the more I'm very intrigued by these stories. They're really, really interesting, even if they are a bit wordy. One of the things that I'm sure I'm not the only one that's noticed, because again, it's hard for me to separate sometimes. The kind of reading experience that I have with Cull is very, very similar, for me anyway, to the reading experience I have with Thorgal, except that Thorgal is kind of less wordy and kind of digs in even deeper than this one goes. But I would say that this is kind of a good introductory step into the world of Thorgal if you want to get something that's I don't know, for maybe a North American palette. Cull would be a good start. Honestly, I would say just jump into Thorgal, forget about doing these opening steps. But I'm really, really digging this stuff. So I'm very, I think I've got, what do I got here? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So yeah, I've still got another 7 issues in a row that I can dive into. This one is supposed to be a phenomenal issue. I haven't read it yet, but I'm really looking forward to dipping into these as well too, and finding those final few issues. So yeah, really, really enjoyable stuff. Thanks very much, everybody. It's nice to see you all, especially Miskati Pishat and Hanukkah Gorbrovnia, with your, I'm sure, amazing links that you've included in the chat there. Phenomenal. Thank you very much for sharing. um, let's just do that. And let's just do that, block and block. So thanks very much, Damien, if you're still there. And we'll talk to you soon. Hope you have a good holiday, and we'll talk to you later.